left foot looking to curl. What a goal! What a goal by Antony to put Manchester United back in charge.
This is the story of a footballer who was mocked, doubted, and written off long before his story had even begun. A young man who came from Brazil with talent, flair, and heart, but who soon found himself under a microscope so unforgiving that even a moment of weakness was turned into ammunition for ridicule. Antony wasn't just criticized, he was mocked, laughed at, turned into memes, called too weak, too light, too soft for European football. But this is also the story of how he flipped that narrative, how he endured the storm, how he refused to let the noise define him, and ultimately, how he earned respect, not through words, but through evolution, grit, and an unexpected rebirth at Real Betis. Below is the full journey, Antony's early expectations. When Antony burst onto the European scene, people expected magic. They expected samba flair, step-overs, dribbles, arrogance with the ball, a spark that reminded fans of Brazilian legends. In his early games, that spark was there. He had pace, fearlessness, and that trademark left-footed cut-inside shot. But European football is ruthless. Defenders are bigger, faster, smarter. They studied him, closed him down, shoved him off the ball. And every time he fell, every time he lost a duel, the jokes grew louder. Featherweight. Glass bones? Kid needs a gym membership. Premier League isn't for him. The memes circulated endlessly. Clips of him being pushed aside by defenders became punchlines across social media. He became a target, not because he was awful, but because expectations were sky high and patience was at an all-time low. Antony felt it. Every comment, every laugh. But this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a transformation. As the months passed, Antony's struggles became exaggerated. The story wasn't about his dribbling ability, passing vision, or work rate. Instead, it was about his size and physicality. Pundits mocked him. Fans questioned his commitment. Even some of his own supporters turned their backs on him. He was labeled weak, and that label stuck. Interviews with former teammates revealed he would sometimes stay back after training, quietly working on drills long after cameras were off. But by then, the public opinion had shifted. No one cared about the grind. They only cared about the memes. Even his confidence began to crack. You could see it in his body language. Less risk, less flair, less joy. He was playing like a man trying not to make mistakes instead of a man trying to shine. But life has a funny way of turning when you least expect it. The transfer window, a crossroads. When the transfer window opened, whispers began. Antony needs a new start. He needs a league where he can rebuild. He needs somewhere he can play without pressure. Then came the surprise announcement. Antony to Real Betis. A move no one predicted. Some fans laughed even harder. He's done. Washed. Sent to a mid-table team to disappear. But to Antony, Betis meant something else. A chance, a reset, a quiet place to work, grow, and return stronger. Betis believed in him. The manager believed in him. And for the first time in a long time, Antony could breathe. Arriving at Real Betis. At Betis, Antony wasn't treated like a failure. He wasn't treated like a meme. He was treated like a player with potential. Raw, wounded, but hungry. The coaching staff sat him down. You're talented. No one doubts that. But talent is not enough. We're going to build you into something stronger, physically and mentally. And so the real work began. Strength training, endurance training, explosiveness drills, mental conditioning, tactical rewiring. He added muscle. He added aggression. He added that edge he'd been missing. The quiet kid who used to get pushed off the ball started pushing back. The winger who used to fall under pressure started staying on his feet. The player who doubted himself began to believe again. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't glamorous. But the transformation was happening. If you want more in-depth football storytelling like this, make sure you stay tuned for future features. There are plenty more powerful journeys coming. First match for Betis. The first game was the moment everything changed. The stadium wasn't full, but the atmosphere was electric. Fans were curious. Would this be the same Antony they saw struggling before, or a new version entirely? In the opening minutes, Antony received the ball on the right wing. A defender rushed him, expecting him to crumble like before. But Antony didn't budge. He held his ground, shifted his weight, cut inside, and before the defender could react, he unleashed a rocket into the top corner. The stadium exploded. Fans jumped. Commentators roared. "Where did that come from?" Antony looks unrecognizable. He didn't celebrate arrogantly. He didn't dance. He simply pointed to the pitch, as if to say, "I'm still here, and I'm not done." The rise of a new player. After that match, everything changed. He didn't just look stronger, he looked fearless. He won duels he once avoided. He sprinted with purpose. He defended with aggression. He played with a fire people hadn't seen in years. Every game built momentum. Every goal built confidence. Every assist silenced another critic. Fans who once mocked him now clapped when he touched the ball. Pundits who criticized him now praised his transformation. Opponents recognized his strength and began marking him tightly, not because he was weak, but because he had become a danger. He wasn't just playing better. He was playing like a man who had something to prove. The shift in public perception. Social media commentary changed. The same fans who joked about his size were now impressed by his physical development. People acknowledged his improved discipline, his maturity, and his ability to rise from ridicule. Fair play to him. Respect. He put the work in. He proved everyone wrong. Even rival fans began praising him. Because in football, nothing earns respect faster than perseverance and growth. Antony's mindset. Antony didn't hold grudges. When asked about the hate, he said, "I understand why people criticize me. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't the player I needed to be. But criticism doesn't define you. What defines you is how you respond." And respond he did. He turned memes into motivation. He turned weakness into strength. He turned doubt into discipline. His story became a reminder that players are human, that growth takes time, and that development isn't always linear. Antony had evolved, not just as a player, but as a person. The peak moment. Silencing the haters. There was one match that symbolized the full circle moment. Betis faced a top club. Big test, national spotlight, cameras everywhere. Antony dominated. He bullied defenders off the ball. He assisted a goal with a brilliant run. And in the final minutes, he scored the winner with a composed finish. The crowd roared his name. Antony, Antony, Antony! Commentators said, "This isn't the same player from before. This is a warrior." And online, silence from the haters. Not anger, not jokes. Silence, because they had nothing left to say. Respect had replaced ridicule. The lesson. Antony's story isn't about proving people wrong for the sake of revenge. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, regardless of who doubts you. He didn't silence them with interviews or excuses. He silenced them with work, with evolution, with commitment. Talent brought him to Europe. Criticism shaped him. Hard work transformed him. And Real Betis gave him the environment to grow into the player he always had the potential to become. Now, fans who once mocked him chant his name with pride. Not because he was perfect, but because he refused to quit. If this story motivated you or reminded you that growth takes time, share it with someone who needs that same push. Real strength comes from resilience, and Antony's story proves exactly that.